I do not play Master League that often, but when I do, I try to use my legendary. So today we're gonna dive together into Open Master League with a lot of action by a purified Ho-Oh team. So I managed to get almost a hundo there, so that's why I purified it. It actually had 13, 13, 13, so with a purified version it reached the hundo, which is absolutely awesome. While at the back we have the double legacy Rayquaza, which I happen to use on this content for the very first time, and overall that was a pretty good build, so why not flex my shiny legendaries. Mewtwo right after as a safe switch, and of course let's dive together now into the content with the commentary, but before we do, cue the intro. Let's begin our journey here with Ho-Oh facing an extra deal for the first battle. So this Pokemon with Rock Slides is gonna be kind of a troublemaker, and especially when we have an ABA team style like this one with a flyer up in front and a flyer at the back. But you know what? This Pokemon is super classy even for the Master League format, so we managed to do so much damage with those Incinerates, and right after we will try to catch the next move on our Mewtwo. My opponent though knows much better than me, able to farm some extra on that Excadrill, and of course they're gonna respond with a dark type and Zarude, which is a Pokemon that I'm really jealous of. Anyways, now Dark Pulse is coming off, and in the process they can also farm me down, which is not looking that great. However, now Ho-Oh is gonna come into the battle, and of course what we want to do here is to go ahead and farm down completely, but my opponent has other plans. Excadrill goes in, and of course we can snipe them down after we block that Rock Slide. Now at the back they have a Hitran and a shield. They want to go ahead and block here, but you know what? Before they get to the Stone Edge, we can get our hands on that Sacred Fire for massive damage and the attack drop. At this point I have a feeling that Rayquaza is looking pretty good, and as soon as they see my Pokemon here they will just back out and we can get a pretty good victory for our team. The Alga now is kinda of a staple of Master League, and we managed to have a pretty good team even up against it. Even though we do not have any super effective move to hit that Pokemon, we have some general damage overall, which is gonna come in handy towards the end of the battle for sure. Now Sun, Stream, Storm, I hope I said that correctly because I'm not familiar with a lot of Pokemon and moves from Master League. It's gonna be the signature move of Landorus, and of course we managed to get 2 on our Mewtwo, and in the process we can also push for that knockout as it seems. But before we get that knockout they can farm us down, which is kind of a bummer, but still not so much, because my Ho now can go in, guarantee the knockout with that Incinerate, and we still have one more shield remaining while they have 0. Looking pretty strong here with those breaking swipes, and I'm just gonna go all in here up against that Dialga, and we cannot apply the debuff. However, another breaking swipe is coming up. This time will take out just barely enough to finish off that Dialga, and since we managed to get a few of those Dragon Tails through, we can get our hands now to the Brave Bird for the one shot up against Kaio, and a huge victory will be for our team. Landorus now once again up in front, and all we have to do here is to go ahead and push for the Brave Bird, and perhaps right after we can clear the debuff by switching out to our Mewtwo. We managed to get that shield super early, which is pretty good for us, and as you can see here, 2 of those legacy moves of that Landorus can easily be tanked by our Mewtwo. On the switch though, they managed to catch our Side Strike on that Lugia, and even though we have the debuff here, I feel very comfortable with my Mewtwo because of how good it is in general with that Shadow Ball. Even against the worst possible scenario like you saw before with the Zarude, you still have something to throw. Even resist it when your Mewtwo is dropping those damage outputs, it is always gonna be kind of a big damage for yourself. So let's see what we can do here, because we managed to farm down Lugia after we spend the shield. Now Kyogre returns into the battle, and Brave Bird for big damage on their end. end. Now Landorus will come into the fight, and of course we're gonna respect the damage from that Stone Edge, but they end up going for the debuffing move and the bait. Now Breaking Swipe will take that final shield out of play, which means that we might be just barely enough to farm down with those Incinerates. And yes, trainers, we can absolutely do this while we have another Brave Bird, this time unshielded for the Kaio, and we managed to finish it off in style. Speaking of Kaio, speaking of the devil, we have it over here up in front this time. What we need to do at this point is to play with our backline up against Kyogre, leaving whatever they have at the back for our Ho-Oh. But my opponent here is not switching out, which is kind of a great deal for me, and as you can see, they have the Primarina coming in. Seeing Primarina going into the battle up against my Mewtwo makes me think that at the very end they have to have something like a Togekiss, because this is looking like a crazy double charm battle, double charm team. Let's see how this is gonna go though, because we managed to tank the move. Even though this is a water type, we can still guarantee the farm down, and of course we can survive the moves. So now they will return with Kyogre into the battle. So Ho-Oh here seems like a great deal for us, able to get now to the Brave Bird, switching out to our Rayquaza because we know that they have something like a double charm at the back, and we managed to get to the Dragon Ascent to finish off in the amazing one-shot the remaining HP that this Togekiss is having. Now the question remains, can we finish them off with that Incinerate? And yes, we can, trainers, before they reach to a double serve, and Ho-Oh is gonna be once again the amazing leader slash closer of this team. Issue an Avalanche now, which is kind of a raid boss for us. We do not have a lot of options up against it, and we want to go here for those Sacred Fires, because we managed to get the debuff on their end, and at the same time, even if they do not block, they can get almost one-shotted down. This is how strong Ho-Oh can be sometimes. Anyways, now on the Switch we're meeting up with that Lugia. Of course, this is not the ideal scenario, because now our Rayquaza is still gonna struggle not only up against those ice moves from Avalanche, but also with that Lugia having that Dragon Tail as its fast attack. So anyway, Shadow Ball now able to finish off that Lugia. At the very end they have a Palkia, which is kind of a big deal overall for the entire meta. Let's answer back at them with a Breaking Swipe, but they can block and we cannot even apply the debuff. Right after, I know that they have a lot of energy to stored up, so my Mewtwo has to throw immediately my Psy Strike and one more to drop the Avalanche as low as possible. My opponent at this point most likely has left the battle because they realize that Mewtwo can absolutely destroy them down, so down they go eventually, and we managed to get a pretty good victory. Dialga now up against Ho-Oh. What we want to do is to go ahead and incinerate them down. So Mewtwo now will come into the battle, will join us here, and of course my Brave Bird will manage to get that shield as soon as we get there. So here it comes. We are now even on shields, and you know what? I'm just gonna respond with a switch out to my own Mewtwo, because I know that most of those Mewtwo's from my opponents are gonna get their hands on that bait right off the bat. So what we want to do here is to go ahead and throw straight the Shadow Ball, not even the bait, but we're gonna start baiting up against that Dialga, because we might get a chance for a double Psy Strike, but this is not the issue at all. It doesn't matter, we can still return here into this fight with our Ho-Oh, and since they get to that Draco Meteor, this is looking kinda safer for us. I'm just gonna go though for the Brave Bird, because I have a feeling that they are farming up a lot of energy in the process. So now with that Kyogre remaining once again at the very end, let's see how we can do. For the first time we managed to apply the debuff, which is kinda of a very good deal for us right now, and look at how low they are already. They need to get their hands on the Blizzard. Down goes my Rayquaza, but hopefully we can still farm down with those Incinerates, and Ho-Oh once again will finish off a Kyogre on the closing part. Hisuian Avalanche once again. Let's see how this is gonna turn out, because this Pokemon is super troublesome. It has quite the moves for my team up in front for my Ho, and of course the ice moves for my Rayquaza, so obviously this is the perfect core breaker for this team. And I was pretty surprised about how often this Pokemon managed to get up against me, okay, with that Lugia at the back. Seems like a very solid team overall, with a lot of coverage against most meta key defining Pokemon, so yeah, you can already imagine how well this core can work. So anyways, now my Mewtwo here will try to block, because I realize that my win condition is if my Mewtwo survives a little bit longer here. We managed to get to the Shadow Ball to finish off Lugia, and right after I will try to switch out to Rayquaza, as you can see, because I'm expecting that Avalanche to return into the battle, and I know they're getting super low. That's why I want to switch out just to farm as much as possible. Now Palkia once again at the back, a Pokemon that is pretty good against the entire meta right now, and we want to get to another breaking swipe, but unfortunately we cannot do that, so they're gonna reach now to the Nuke and the Draco Meteor to finish off our Mewtwo for that final time. Into the final battle now, trainers. Let's see how this is gonna go, because we're having a Dialga, the king of the meta, the king of Master League, up in front. So now Brave Bird is gonna be our main way to go up against our opponent, since they have the switch with that shiny Mewtwo. What a flex. So Shadow Ball is coming up. I know I can survive one while I can still reach to the next Shadow Ball, which is looking pretty promising for us, and of course we managed to get the knockout over here. Not only that, but now we have the minimal amount of energy, actually HP, so that my opponent cannot farm a lot of energy. This is what I meant to say, and since we want to respect the damage here from the Stone Edge and possibly the one shot, we managed to block that bait from the Landorus. So many Landoruses up against me, so many baits, and yeah, I blocked every single one of them. I don't know what I'm doing. So now Dialga is gonna come into the battle. I know this is the Iron Head, we can definitely resist that and reach still to that Brave Bird. Absolutely devastating for my opponent. Down they go. They still need to reach to a move here if they want to have any chance, or at least that's what I hoped. I hoped so, because my opponent decides to farm down with those resisted mud shots, and after the debuff we're gonna get to no HP, but the Dragon Ascent will be kinda clutch here to finish them off in style before they reach to another nuke. Thank you for watching, trainers, and for staying around till the end. Just be sure to leave a huge like before you go, and of course subscribe to the channel if you are new to my content. Over here I have 2 more videos for you to check out. Feel free to check them out, and I will catch you up later into the next one.